Hello and welcome to Pest in Class, expert voices in pest management. I'm your host, Amanda Salvatore, and on today's episode, we have Ryan Englin, owner of Core Matters and author of Hire Better People Faster. We talk about his effective hiring strategies, how to attract the perfect candidate, and how changing your mindset can help change your business. Let's get into it. Ryan Englin, you are the owner of Core Matters, author of Hire Better People Faster, and host of the podcast Titans of the Trades. Today, we're going to be talking about recruiting and retention strategies in the pest control industry. Welcome to the podcast.
Amanda, thank you for having me. We've had so many great conversations. I feel like I know you so well already, so I'm ready to dig in.
That really warms my heart. Thank you so much. We're comfortable,
Yeah.
we've got a flow. I'm here for it. Well, I am so excited to have you here. I think you have such great insight, and our listeners are really going to benefit from this episode. But first and foremost, we really got to get to know you, right? So let's have an icebreaker. One of my personal favorite ones thus far. What is the perfect sandwich?
I knew this was coming, and I don't eat a lot of sandwiches.
Neither do I.
But I will tell you this, my favorite, if I got to pick one, is just a good old-fashioned PB&J where the jelly's been on the bread a little too long and it started to soak through and it's gooey and messy, and that's the best.
I love that answer. I'm a big PB&J fan too, and I respect the seasoned PB&J, if
Yes.
you will, the well saturated
The one I made the night before and didn't eat for lunch, and so I'm eating it for a snack on the way home. Those are the best.
That's pretty good. I like that choice. It's pretty clean, pretty easy. Excellent work. All right, so let's dive into it. Tell our listeners how you started Core Matters and what is it that you guys do there?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to the beginning, but then I'll go quick. So I grew up in a blue collar household. My dad was an owner operator. And like so many owner operators, he had this vision of, I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to have more time, more freedom, more money. It's going to be glorious. And like so many of those entrepreneurs out there, it ended up being a job times two. And worked crazy, 6 days, 7 days a week, 12-hour days, you know the drill. So I saw what my dad went through. And as I got older, I went to college. I said, I'm not going to go into the family business. I don't want to do that mess. And I thought, there are a lot of people like my dad out there who have this dream, have this vision, and it just never turns out. And what I believed originally was that it was a marketing issue, that they struggled with bringing in enough business. I had heard that revenue solves a lot of problems in business. So I started a marketing company. And the idea was we weren't just going to work on lead generation, but we were going to work on retention. How do we retain our customers, keep them coming back because it's so much more effective? About 3-4 years into that, working with a lot of home service contractors, and they ended up telling me I don't need more leads. I don't have enough technicians to service the customers that are coming in. So since you can't help with that, services are no longer needed. So I don't know if it was insanity or brilliance. It was one of the two. I went to a couple of clients and I said, hey, how about I help you with this technician issue? After all, recruiting is a marketing activity. That was my belief. I'm a marketer. I can make this work. So I had one contractor who gave me a shot. They had 4 empty trucks. And they said, we need them full because we just can't get to the leads that are coming in. 3 weeks later, they call me and they say, we filled all 4 trucks. And we got 2 more technicians waiting for more trucks. I don't know what you did, but turn the leads back on. I'm like, yay, I saved the day. Well, it turns out it was way more fun helping people recruit technicians than it was generating leads. And so over time, I developed the CoreFit hiring system, which is a set of tools and processes that contractors can implement inside of their business to help them attract, hire, and retain the best people. And all of our work is in the blue collar space, pest control included. And anybody that's in field services, construction, home services, that's who we serve. And our focus, our emphasis is on that frontline technician, the CSR, the dispatcher, the person that is delivering that customer experience, making it happen, delivering your service. Those are the people that we're most passionate about helping you attract, hire, and retain.
I think that there is so much here to unpack and to learn, obviously. You thought it was a marketing issue when it comes to hiring. Is that right?
That's correct.
So, how did it switch? How has it changed? How has your viewpoint changed?
I think that it's even more solidified that recruiting is a marketing activity. You see, when someone needs to hire that technician, they need to get in front of the technician, but they don't know where the technician is. They don't know what they look like. They don't know what they're going to respond to. You have to create the right message, put it in front of the right person when they are most apt to receive it at the right time. I mean, that's a marketing equation right there.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times people take a job description that a lawyer gave them or an HR person gave them. It's a bulleted list of all the things that this new employee has to do. They put it up online and they say, we're hiring. But what we really need to do is be attracting people to us. We need to be thinking about this more as a branding exercise and less of a job description exercise. Put something out there that gets people excited to say, I want to join that team. I want to be a part of what they're doing. That looks amazing. Way more fun than what I'm doing today. And really create that attraction mechanism so that they're raising their hand saying, can I come work for you? Versus you walking around begging people to come work for you.
Yeah, it seems like a shift of perspective here.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the trades, in pest industry, are talking about this labor shortage. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that idea.
So I believe we have a labor crisis. I do not believe we have a labor shortage. And what I mean by that is that there are a lot of people that want these jobs. There's two things going against them. Number one, they don't know the jobs exist. So if you're small, if you're not relevant, people aren't going to know that you're hiring. So that's one side of it. But I think the other side of it, people don't mind doing this work, but the overall in the trades, there's been this cultural shift that they are lesser than. They are your plan B. You know, if you can't go to college and get a good tech job, then you go work with your hands. And I think that shift has happened for a couple of reasons, but we have to overcome that belief that these are bad jobs, that you can't make a good living, that you can't be respected, and you can't have self-respect if you take these jobs. They're not lesser than. In fact, I would argue that many of them are greater than, because without electricians, Facebook, you can't do anything.
Right? Right. It's essential. It's essential work. I think after a global pandemic, I think a lot of people are realizing what jobs are essential.
Yeah.
And it's not just nurses and doctors, and you're learning that these services are very important and very lucrative, in fact. I know we talked a little bit when we had talked previously, we talked about the rate of college graduates and who to focus on when we're looking to recruit. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's a mindset shift. I think we get so focused on one narrative that we can't see the other side of it. So if we have 46% of Americans graduating college, and we're always looking at those 46%. What can we do to convince people not to go to college? Why are people picking college? Why don't you come get into an apprenticeship program and earn while you learn? Like, we're having all these conversations about the people who've already chosen college. Well, what about the 54% that don't go to college? Why aren't we having a conversation about them? And I think the problem is they're just foregone conclusion. Well, they're either going to join the trades or they're not. What we need to do is convince the people who are leaving us to come back. And my argument is no, let them leave. And let's go put our efforts in that 54%, because nobody's having that conversation. It's a college or blue collar. Like, that's the conversation. Why? Go to college. Go, leave me alone. Go do the white collar jobs. Let's talk about the 54% that don't go to college.
There's an untapped market. There's an untapped market there. So you are a business owner. You own your own pest control company, and you are looking to fill those trucks. And it seems to be an impossible task. You've had experiences where people have ghosted you or haven't shown up on time. They weren't a good fit for the company. Where do they start? How do they begin the process so it ends up being successful?
We're going to do a lot of mindset shifting today.
we're all collectively going to close our eyes and meditate and shift.
Here's the reality. If you're not attracting good people, you're the only ones that are showing up are what you consider the bottom of the barrel. They're ghosting you. They're just not a good fit. If you're not attracting good people, consider that you are not attractive to good people. I'll let that sit in for a minute, right? It might be that good people see your brand, they see your team, they see what you're building, and they go, no, I'm not going to leave what I have to go be a part of that. Now, the thing is, you're probably not doing anything on purpose to turn people off. But what I found is you're not being intentional about attracting the right people to you. And that's the shift I want to see people make. Take a step back from your business. Google yourself. Would you want to work for you? Go read your reviews. As a job seeker, would you want to work there when you have that many upset customers? Go drive by your fleet in the morning, after you've just finished your stand-up, and look at your trucks. Do you think you're going to be able to attract an A-player tech to your fleet? We have this belief, all these prima donnas, they only want to operate in a brand new truck. No, they want to be able to go down their route and not worry about the damn thing breaking down. You have to think about it from their perspective for a second. If I'm a rock star, if I'm an A player, if I'm top talent, I want to show up at a customer's home looking like top talent, not like someone who's just scraping by doing their best. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy a whole new fleet of trucks because we know how hard that is right now. But just take a moment and pay attention to the little details, because those things matter to good people, to high quality candidates, those ones that are going to show up, knock it out of the park every day, and they're not going to make a mess for you. Those people, they want to know that they're going to be well respected, that they're going to be working for a company that's well respected. They're going to be working around a team that's not going to pull them down.
It's really about that, attracting the right type of people. I think this goes with business. It goes with personal. It's a great mindset to have on multiple levels. So you've taken a look at your business and you've improved upon it. You've made it a place that you think people really want to work here. We do good work. We show up and we do what we say we're going to do. Where do you start finding these applicants that you could get excited about as a business owner?
Well, again, I want to shift the perspective. I want to make sure we're using the right words. So you asked the question, where do we find them? Well, I don't want you to go out and turn over rocks and look around corners and look for them. That's not what I want you to do. What I want you to do is I want you to identify the right person. And then I want you to ask yourself, where does that person spend their time? What are they doing in their free time? What are they doing when they're not at work? What are they doing when they're not looking for a job on Indeed, which, by the way, is only about 3 to 5% of the market. Like, Indeed is not the place to go. Where are they spending their time? And I want you to go there. So instead of finding individuals, I want you to find what I call a new fishing spot. Right? I want you to find a new place to go attract the right people. So we all go to Lake Indeed right now, and we're mad because the only thing that's left in Lake Indeed is bottom feeders. And then we have this belief, no one wants to work, everyone's entitled. Well, because everybody that's been good has been selected. No offense, but there's a certain group of the population that just is never going to work well. And so we have to shift our thinking. We're not looking for individuals. We're looking for a new fishing spot. We're looking for a new place to go where we can be in front of people when they aren't looking for a new job, when they're hanging out with their friends and their family and in their community. And we go put our ads in front of them there and say, hey, come join our team.
Essentially, what I'm hearing is write down your perfect candidate. What do they look like? Who are they? And how do I introduce myself to them? Well, how do I get in front of them, right?
Let me continue that fishing analogy for a second. I talk to people all the time. It's so funny. I run into so many people out here in Tennessee. I'm like, hey, you like to fish? I love to fish. Great. When you wake up on Saturday morning, you say, I want to go fishing today. What's the first decision that you need to make? And by making it, all other decisions become easier or unnecessary. Most people say where I'm going to go. I want to go fishing, so I'm going to figure out where I want to go first. And the problem with that is, do you know what kind of bait you need to bring? Do you know what kind of gear you need to bring? Do you know if even going on a Saturday morning is the right thing to do? If we just base it off location, you don't. The best decision to make is what kind of fish you want to catch. Because if you know what kind of fish you want to catch, it's right there. Here's the only bait that they eat. Here's the type of gear that I need based on their weight and where they're at. It tells me if I need a boat or not. If I determine the type of fish I want to catch, almost all other decisions get made for me based on what I know about fishing. But if I choose location and I want to go out here to the local reservoir, but I want to go catch some salmon, that's going to be a problem because there's no salmon in that lake. So what's going to happen is I'm going to throw my bait out there. Whatever bites. And I'm going to be like, well, nobody else wants to work, so I'll hire this one. And that's what we do. So we go to Indeed thinking that's where all the good ones are. And then you just settle because it turns out there's no good ones there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just have this image of someone fishing and getting a fish and being like, I guess I'm bringing you home to work at my pest control company. I hope you work.
I have a little cartoon of two guys are like, I don't know. What do you want to go catch? I'm like, oh, let's just go someplace close. And they're fishing in a river and it's right downstream from like a nuclear power plant. Nice. And they're holding a little fish in their hands with 3 eyeballs on it. And it's kind of looking at them. And it's like, well, I guess we'll take this one. But
this is exactly how I'm envisioning this happening. Really just focus on what you are looking for. And also, it sounds like with this shift, what you can offer that person as well. This perfect candidate. How is my business going to also attract this person as well? It's a holistic approach.
It really is, because now we're talking bait, right? What's the bait that's going to attract them? You know, for a fish, it's got to smell good and look good. But for an employee, it's not pay and benefits. It's not pay and benefits. Yes, there's an element of people have to make a certain wage to be able to afford their lifestyle, but most people will agree that the best employees work for someone else right now. They'll always tell me, oh, we're the best ones. So they work for someone else. Okay. So which means you have to show them that working for you, not doing a different job, but working for you is better than working for the person they work for today. You've heard that saying before, people don't leave jobs, they leave people. So if we believe that to be true, we have to show them how working for us is going to be better for them. How are we going to pour into them personally? How are we going to take care of them? What are we going to give them back so that they get to grow as a human being and grow in their career?
So we're talking about this reset, this reframing how we're looking at hiring. My next question is, how do you communicate your needs and also what you can offer?
Yeah.
Because I think it's that balance of, usually when you see a job description, this is what we're looking for, this is what we need, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But how do we ask for what we need, but also showcase what we can offer?
So 2 different parts. So let's break down the first one, what we need. I ask people all the time, what's a good employee? And you know what they don't tell me? They never say, oh, they know the equipment, they know the materials, they know how to apply correctly. I never hear that. What I hear is, they take care of the customer's needs. They show up on time. They take care of my vehicle. They take care of my property. They don't waste. There's no spillage. They're safe. When we describe good people, we describe behavior. Very rarely do we describe skills. And the reason I believe that to be the case is because we can teach the skills. We cannot teach the behavior. If someone is a procrastinator, you can't just teach them out of procrastinating. If someone is not punctual, you can't teach them to be on time. So when we focus on a good person versus a bad person, a quality employee versus not, typically where we go is we go into behaviors versus skills. So when we start looking for what we need to get very clear on what kind of behaviors are acceptable, what kind of behaviors are we willing to tolerate, and what kind of behaviors are we non-negotiable with. Get really clear on that up front. Then most people want to hire a skilled tech, right? They're usually not looking for the brand new guy that doesn't even have a license. They want to hire that skilled tech. So what are the skills that are absolutely required? Or do you require licensing before they come to you? Those sorts of things. What are the non-negotiables? Because the reality is you're going to teach them to do it your way anyways. You're going to teach them to use your software anyways. So don't require those things. What are the bare minimum things that you're going to require? And then once you have that, identify what I call their core responsibilities. It's usually 3 to 5 things, core responsibilities. Not a bulleted list of all these different things that they have to know how to do. Oh, apply this kind of material, or apply these traps, or deal with this issue, or deal with that issue. I'm not talking about those specific bullets, but what are the core responsibilities? And it might look like provide 5-star customer service. That's a core responsibility. Now, how do you do that? By doing all of these bulleted list of things, right? Or maybe a core responsibility is to apply materials safely, right? Maybe that's a core responsibility. Well, how do you do that? By doing all of these bulleted lists. And you just really roll it down to those core responsibilities. So when you take those core responsibilities along with those non-negotiable behaviors and you put them together, that's what you need. And then to attract that person, I want you to think about the job description as an HR tool. I want you to think about what you post on your website or online as an advertisement. So think about this for a second. I do this in my workshops. You know, there's a Corvette out there. It's $160,000 for this Corvette, right? It's the top of the line Corvette. And when Chevy wants to advertise the Corvette, do they create this really compelling, exciting, people loving life, having fun commercial that lasts 60 seconds? Or when you're flipping through and the game goes to commercial, do you just see a picture of a window sticker with all of the bullets of what you get? You see the people loving life, the lifestyle, what it creates for them, what opportunity it brings to them. You see that. There's no talk of price. There's no talk of horsepower. There's no talk of specs. It is just people loving life, and people buy the lifestyle when they spend $160,000 on a car. And most people buy the lifestyle when they buy a car. They want it to be comfortable. They want those things. Do you know how hard it is to find a window sticker for a Z06 online?
I don't, but can you tell me?
It is almost impossible to find a window sticker. Chevy knows that those window stickers should not be online. I had to go to someone's Instagram account and they took a picture of it and posted on Instagram. I had to scrape it off that in order to get a picture of this window sticker. If that's how we market when we're selling consumer goods, we need to be having that same mindset because we're selling to consumers. I mean, employees at the end of the day are consumers. We need to think we're marketing to them. Create an advertisement, something that's compelling and exciting and shows them a lifestyle that they can live by working for you versus a bulleted list of specs in order to do the job.
I think this shift to showcasing this idea of lifestyle can really put you out in the forefront as a business owner. It's exciting to work here.
Mhm.
It's going to feel great, as opposed to, this is what I want you to do. Thank you. Can you do it? And like, just see like that,
Yeah.
goodbye. If you're really creating something that is exciting and something that people want, you're going to be getting applicants of high quality. They're going to get excited.
Mhm.
Something they haven't seen before. So you've done all this. You have all your prerequisites. You have like your core needs. You have showcased your business in an exciting way to attract the right people. Now it's time to hire. We're narrowing it down. What is the interview process? Because I know you have these I believe it's 4 stages, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are those?
Yeah. So there's 4 stages. Now I want to be really clear. When I say stage, I don't mean separate interviews. Like, don't send them home and have them come back. That's not what I'm talking about. But there's a process that you go through. And the 4 stages that we look at, the first one is what we call the pre-qualification stage. We're just making sure that all of our boxes are checked and the non-negotiables are taken care of. So in pre-qualification, you're looking at things that are non-negotiable. For example, if you're hiring a technician, they got to be insurable, right? You can't put them in a company truck if they don't have a driver's license and a clean driving record. They have to be insurable. So in that case, that's a pre-qualification question. Like, don't waste your time if you can't put them in a truck. If you're hiring a customer service rep and they have 0 phone skills and they freak out talking to strangers, probably not going to be a fit, right? Let's not waste our time with those people. So that's pre-qualification. Then we move to what I call the culture fit stage, which is, will they feel like they belong here? Will they align with what we believe? Will they behave in a way that's consistent with how we behave? Or are they going to sound like a sore thumb? Are we going to think, oh my gosh, they're cancerous, they're toxic, this isn't going to work? So we really want to make sure that they're aligned to our culture. And we do that by asking them about their behaviors, about their belief system, about making sure that they're going to belong here. Then we look at position fit. Can they do the job? Now, for most of the time in position fit, I'm less interested in can they do the job at a high level of performance over do they have the raw skills, the raw talents, the raw drivers to be able to do that? Because that's more of an interest to me. Odds are, if someone was trained by someone else, I'm probably going to want them to do it a little differently. But I got to make sure that that raw talent is there. So that's position fit. And then the last one is the offer meeting or the offer stage, which is where we sit down and we have a conversation. We set expectations with each other. We make sure that we're very clear on what the role is and what the requirements are to succeed in the role, and make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody understands it. And when we go through those 4 stages, we are going to have a really good sense of whether or not this is going to work, whether or not we're willing to invest the time, the energy, the effort in making it work. Because turnover is hella expensive. And it is very time consuming. It is very stressful. And I would rather you spend a little bit more time on the front end, get all the disagreements, all the concerns, get everybody on the same page at the beginning versus getting them in 6 weeks on the job and then being like, oh, I just got to find someone else, but I need this set of hands. I just need them to stay. I don't want you to be in that place where you feel trapped. I'd rather you just deal with it up front. Spend a couple hours and go, that wasn't the right one, but look at the amount of time that I saved by not hiring them.
Yeah, it sounds like this type of process, do the work at the beginning so that you don't have more work later on.
Correct.
And an expensive, very expensive amount of labor to have to figure out. I want to dive into a little bit about position fit because I think this can be really interesting. I know within the trades, it might be a little bit easier to figure out how to do that. A lot of shops have like an HVAC shop may have an air conditioner. It's broken. Can you show me how you fix it and diagnose problems? When it comes to pest control, do you have any suggestions for someone who is interested in adopting this process?
You know, I would say that the majority of people listening right now are probably going to be naturally good at position fit. But I can give you some examples of some ways you can change up position fit. So you probably have pictures of things that were either poorly done by some other company or just disasters where, you know, animals were, you know, setting up nests or where we just had some really disgusting situations. Most of those are preventable. And so if you have pictures or video of that, share it with the person you're interviewing and saying, what is wrong with this picture? How would you have done this differently? And see if they can identify the issues, especially if you're looking for someone that's experienced. Might be one way to do it is to just show them, to point out, oh, look at the way that they did this bait station. That's not correct. And here's why. You can learn a lot about someone versus saying, hey, go set up some bait stations. Because who knows? I mean, the thing is about in pest control, it's not like the supervisor's stopping by every home to make sure the guy's doing his job correctly. The way you know that he's doing his job correctly is the customer calls you back 2 months later and says, hey, they were gone for the last 2 months. Now they're back, right? Or they don't cancel their recurring with you. That's how you know the guy's doing his job. But if you can assess up front. Can he identify issues? Can he identify how to troubleshoot? Can he tell you, oh, this is how I think we treat that? That's how you're going to get a little bit more effective, more valuable position fit part of the interview.
Absolutely. I think the interview process is a very interesting one. I've been in them a couple of times myself, as I'm sure you have. I know that you, in your previous jobs, you were doing a lot of interviewing.
Yes.
And you have learned a lot from that process and all of the interviews that you were doing. But I also know that it's one of your favorite phases of the process. Can you tell us why?
It's the first part we get to meet the person, like really get to know somebody. We are, as a society, we are so pulled in so many different directions. We are more connected with other people than we've ever been in the history of the world, but we're also more lonely than we've ever been in the history of the world because we don't have deep conversations. We don't have deep connections anymore. And the reality is when you hire somebody, you're entering into a relationship. It's not the romantic relationships that we all think of, but there are a lot of similarities between a romantic relationship and an employee-employer relationship, especially on the emotional side. I mean, anybody that's ever applied for a job and started their first day, they've got the first day jitters. It's like the same thing that you go through on a first date, right? Or there are times when, there's a big fight coming up. I know it's coming up. Well, that's pretty much every Sunday night. When you work for someone else, you're like, oh, I got to go deal with this tomorrow. Those emotions that we feel in our romantic relationships and our family relationships, we pull those over into our employment relationships. And during the interview is when we get to level set things. We get to multiple times get to practice that, get to learn from that, get better at that. A big part of the interview is just setting proper expectations with people. I mean, how often do we assume expectations? We assume what we should expect or what they should expect from us. We never have that conversation. Let's just talk about it. And so I really enjoy the interview because we really get to know people. We really get to see what makes them tick, what motivates them, how to be a better leader for them, all of the things that wrap up into building a really strong relationship real early on.
Yeah, I love this idea of proper expectations and showcasing that. If I'm a business owner, very often I think that the interview process is in this old school mindset of what can you do for me? So when you are the business owner and you are in that interview process, you have a prospect in front of you who you think is it. You really enjoy this person. You think the culture fit is great. You think that they're really good at their job as well as a good fit for the company. How do you properly express those expectations to them?
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of different ways to do it, but I'll give you a couple of examples. So an easy one is, okay, I'm set. I've offered this person the position. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I can't wait for them to start. Just do a temperature check. Amanda, scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to come work here?
Oh, 9.5.
9.5. Well, that's not a 10. So what's missing? What did we miss? Where do you have questions? Where do you have concerns? What expectations do you feel we haven't set yet? If they gave me a 10, I would reverse it and say, you know what? A lot of people give me a 10. But I don't want you to show up in 3 weeks, go, I really should have told them it was a 6. So let's have that conversation. You say it's a 10. I get it because that's what you are expected to say or think you're expected to say. Let's talk about it. Let's pretend it was a 6. What's missing for you? I give you an example that I think a lot of people will be able to relate to. When I talk about expectations, what I'm talking about is those things that are going to drive each other nuts in the first 6, 9 weeks, 12 weeks of working together that we just assume is normal. We just deal with it. And there are a lot of things, and it can depend on your company's culture, the type of people you're hiring, your demographics, your geographics, all sorts of things. But here's an example that I can think a lot of people can wrap their head around. Think about when you moved in with a significant partner, significant other, spouse, for the first time you moved in together. And you move in and it's the honeymoon stage and you're having fun and everything's cool. And then you find out that he puts the toilet paper on the wrong way.
I'm passionate about toilet paper. So.
You know what? Most people are. Or that, he leaves the toilet seat up. Or that she doesn't put the cap back on the toothpaste. or that there's a right way to fold the towels, right? Think about those dumb, I'm going to call them dumb little things that we fight about. They are not relevant in the big scheme of things. They are little annoyances. And over time, if they build up, we're like, this isn't going to work. We have the exact same thing happen when we hire someone new. They don't take as good a care of the truck as I thought they would, right? They think that if they're supposed to be here at 7:30 or they're supposed to be at the first job at 7:30, yeah, there's a little cushion. That's more of a recommendation than it is actually 7:30. Or, maybe they're not as quick to turn in all of their paperwork at the end of the day. Maybe they don't supply their truck, refill their truck as much as they're supposed to. Little things. They're not deal breakers. It's not keeping them from being a good employee. It's just annoying. And we let them build up. And we say nothing because we're too busy. We're working on other things. So we don't say anything. And then eventually one customer calls, one bad complaint, and we just ambush them. Well, look at the last 9 weeks of all the things you haven't done. Now there's this, you're fired. Why don't we just have that conversation up front? Here's an expectation I have. You will take care of your truck better than you take care of your own truck. There you go. In fact, that's a great interview tip for a lot of people. When you interview a technician, instead of letting them just leave the office and go back to their car, walk them out to their car, because that's what your truck's going to look like in 6 weeks.
Ooh, that's good. I'm glad no one did that. I'm glad trucks are not involved in my job. I'm so glad, because all of my car is just full of like applesauce pouches from my kid.
Yeah, I get it. But I'm telling you, you can walk out to someone to their car. That's what your company vehicle is going to look like in 6 weeks. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Now, you might not care. You might be like, yeah, it's okay. They get dirty. They get messy. But you have an expectation that they clean it every 4 weeks. Have that conversation. The things that we get frustrated with, like, I believe that most people come to work every day because they want to do a good job. I think there's a very small subset of people that just want to mooch off the system. I mean, it's such a tiny piece. And so most people want to do a good job. The problem is they don't know what your expectations are of a good job because we don't tell them. That's what we should be doing in the interview.
Yeah, it sounds like really it's about honest conversations. It's about just being upfront and honest.
Yeah, I call them grown-up conversations.
Yeah.
Just have one of those.
I want to have a grown-up conversation with you real quick.
A couple of adults are talking here like adults.
Yeah. And I think that those sorts of annoyances really add on and carry over to the next issue to then when you're dealing with a real issue, it's bigger than it needs to be. Mm-hmm. It's built up over time.
Yeah.
I know that from living a life with somebody who doesn't put the cap on the toothpaste. You know what I mean?
We talk about it. We do a lot of coaching with supervisors and owners about this. Like, what's the issue when the issue isn't the issue?
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're talking about. Like, that's the thing that made the thermometer go from 100 to 102. And you're like, oh, we have a temperature. But when it went from 56 to 58, you didn't think anything of it, right? And so that's really what we got to do is understand root cause, understand what's really causing the issue. And the reality is, listeners probably not going to like this, but the reality is if you're struggling to attract and keep good people, it's probably time to take a look in the mirror.
Have those adult conversations with yourself a little
bit.
Take a look.
Sometimes
you gotta. I think that's a healthy thing to do personally, as well as within your business, is just kind of taking a look and a step back and assessing if you're bringing in toxic people into your life all the time and this certain situation keeps happening. It might be time to look at what you're doing or who you're attracting, and same as in business.
Yeah. I mean, back to attracting the right person. Once you've identified who the right person is and you understand them and you're kind of in their head a little bit, take a step back and say, would that person be attracted to my company? And if not, then ask yourself, what do I need to become to attract that type of person? And start working on those things.
Yes. I want to pivot now to retention. And so once we've got our candidate, they're in the shop, it's their first day on the job. How do we navigate and keep them on board and happy?
Yeah. So keep in mind that onboarding starts as soon as they apply. It goes all the way back. Think back to that relationship. How many relationships somebody remembers the first date? Nobody knew they were getting married later. There was a first date, but that first date influenced the entire relationship up until that marriage. The same thing, the way that you responded to that application. Did you make them wait 2 weeks before they heard back from you? Because guess what they're thinking on day one? I'm going to show up on day one. Nothing's going to be ready for me. They're going to forget that I'm even coming in today. Heck, I don't even know if I'll be able to turn in hours because I might not be set up in payroll. If it takes you 2 weeks to get back to an applicant in the beginning, they're coming in on day one going, what else is going to take forever? So keep that in mind. You're creating
You're setting those expectations.
Yeah. So when it comes to day one it's a critical time. And I can't tell you how many people have shifted to this mindset of, you know what? I'll get their truck ready. I will get their accounts ready for our system. I will do all that when they show up because I don't want to waste my time if they don't. I've seen so many people who take this mindset of, I'll do it when they do it. And what ends up happening is for the ones that do show up, they're sitting here thinking, did they even really want me here? They've had 2 weeks. They've had a week to get ready for this, and they're still not ready. You know, we spend so much time celebrating people when they leave our organization on good terms, but we never celebrate them when they show up. If you're hiring rock stars, celebrate a rock star. Imagine a rock star. Think of Taylor Swift. She walks into a room and everybody's like, oh, there's Taylor. And they go back to what they're doing. She's going to be like, wait a minute. She's a rock star, right? But we hire these people and we expect them to be rock stars, and then we don't treat them like rock stars. We don't celebrate them. Celebrate them. Let your team know. We have a client, when you walk in their lobby, they have a big giant TV and it's got balloons on the TV and it's like, welcome to your first day. And it's got the person's name and they're a construction company. I mean, the only reason they come into this office is to get their safety briefing, get some PPE and those sorts of things. And that TV alone is enough for them to go, oh my gosh, they were prepared for me. The other thing to keep in mind is that your job as the employer in week one, and this is my opinion, and there's going to be some people that disagree with this, but turnover is expensive. And we can get into that details, but it's expensive. It's not just costing you money. It's costing you time. It's costing you sleep. It's costing you other team members. It's costing you customers. Turnover is expensive. If you could spend just a couple more hours or a couple more days really getting this person acclimated to your company and to the way you want them to treat your customers, if they stay with you for 3 years because of a couple extra days up front, it's worth it. So I always tell people the goal of week one, the first week they're on the job, the goal, the only thing you should be focused on is, are they going to go home? Let's say they start on Monday. Are they going to go home Friday afternoon and tell their partner, this was the best decision I ever made? Or are they going to go home on Tuesday and go, I should have stayed where I was because at least I knew what I had. And this doesn't look any better. In fact, it might look worse.
Yeah, I love this. The idea of like, what are they saying when they go home? What does their first week feel like to them? Mm-hmm. And celebrating them and being ready for day one when they walk in. If your employee feels valued, they're going to go above and beyond. And it's just going to trickle down to the other employees, how they treat customers. It really starts, and I never thought of it this way, but it starts that first day, that first conversation, really. I'm learning a lot. I'm sure our listeners are too, but I'm very much enjoying just this.
I know there's some people listening right now going, Ryan, yeah, I get it. That sounds awesome. And if we were Google, we would have the staff and the resources and the time to do all that, but we're not. And I will tell you this is one of my beliefs. If you are in any kind of home service field, stop having people start on Monday. Stop having them come in and start on Monday. Name one home service contractor where Monday is like piece of cake and a walk in the park and it's not blasted with emails and voicemails. But we have them start on Monday because that's the normal work week. They start on Monday, and then for the first half of the day, they just sit around because everybody is just running around putting out fires that were started all weekend. Stop starting on Monday. But anyways, That'll change the
I love them.
world. That'll change the world.
Also, who doesn't love a 4-day week when they start?
Yeah. Or you know what? A lot of our clients do Wednesday.
Why
Start them on
Wednesday?
Wednesday because the Monday problems are done. The Tuesday problems are done. Usually the second half of the week is a lot slower. We can spend more time with them. And then they come in on Wednesday. They get all of their credentials. They get all their systems training. They get all the boring stuff. They come in on Thursday. They get to meet their team. They get to see the other people. They get to maybe go on a job or two. They come on Friday. It's Friday already. You want someone to have an amazing first week. They get 3 days. But
Sign me
here's
up.
the shift I want you to make. So those are a couple of tactical things. But if you believe that you don't have enough time, you don't have enough resources, you can't do this, you can't invest in somebody up front in that first week, I want you to think about the alternative when they leave you in 6 and you do it again and again and again. Like, we have very short attention spans these days as a human race. Our attention spans we're competing for so many other things. We forget the pain we go through for that first couple of weeks with that person that didn't work out, and that we're willing to do it again and again and again and again. And if you're tired of being in that cycle, just think about what it's costing you to continue to repeat this process. Imagine if you just said, you know what, when someone new starts, clear my schedule for 3 days. And I'm just going to invest in that person for 3 days because I know if I do that, they'll be here for 3 years. Like, who wouldn't do that?
Yeah. It's a bit of extra work at the beginning, but it's only going to benefit
Absolutely.
you in the long run.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like there is just so many nuggets in here for our listeners to take home and to think about and to utilize. I would love to ask about your podcast and your book. I'd love to hear about that and where people can find you.
Yeah. So the podcast is Titans of the Trades. And I started that podcast to showcase and highlight industry powerhouses, people that are making it happen. So these are people that have overcome the challenges that so many other contractors are having, and be able to say, hey, it's not easy to get up here, but let me give you some strategies and some stories and encouragement along the way so that you can see it's possible. Because I know so many contractors, so many owners, entrepreneurs that just feel like it's not possible anymore. And so I want to highlight the stories and share those. So I'm going to say this: if anybody's listening, they're like, I'm an industry powerhouse, I got a guest spot for you. Okay. Reach out to me.
Nice. And now we really know why Ryan came on the podcast. Now I know. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, that's the podcast. I've got a book out. So if anybody wants more of these tips and tricks and strategies and to really understand our whole process, they can go check out Hire Better People Faster. And yes, it's on audiobook for those of you clocking a lot of windshield time. You can listen to me walk through the book for you. And in fact, if anybody wants a free copy of the book, if they help me with the shipping and handling, I'd love to send them a free copy.
Ryan, that is so sweet of you. And also, I might take you up on that.
Yeah,
I want to read it.
Go to corematters.com/free book. And like I said, a little shipping and handling fee. I'll mail you a copy. You can take a look and go through it. I've been told that it is just chock full of tips and tricks. So
just like this episode, truly. Yeah. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. Wildly informative. And I had a blast.
Thank you.